Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. Today I am doing something a little bit different. I had a regular session of Dungeons and Dragons last night, and as I've been doing for a bit over a year now, I have been journaling for each session. So during the session I'll make some rough notes. As this has all been online, it's in a shared Google document, but if I play tabletop, I'll scratch some notes in a little notebook and then transfer it to a document later. And maybe the day after or a couple of days after the session, I'll write up my notes into a more narrative version of what happened. Now, I do this for a whole host of reasons. One, I think it's fun to do, but it's also really helpful for me so that I don't forget things that happen. Important characters' names, plot clues, bits of gear that we've picked up along the way. Having a written record that I can quickly check makes life a lot easier for me. And because this is now a shared document that I share with the other players and the Dungeon Master, this is something that we can all reference. So if someone misses a session for any reason, what happened will be in this document. Now, what I'd also hope would happen is if I had to miss a session for any reason, that one of my fellow players would continue this and just fill in the important details. They don't have to write a full thematic narrative of what happened, but just a few notes to let me know what I'd missed. I'd appreciate that. I think it's also a sign of respect for the Dungeon Master, especially in a homebrew world. They've put a lot of effort into building this world. So by taking notes, paying attention, and following the plot hooks they've put in, it's a mark of respect to them for their storytelling ability. Yes, I'm paying attention. Yes, I'm following along. And yes, I am contributing something back. So this current campaign, we just had our 7th session. This is a continuation from a previous campaign where, unfortunately, due to some rather poor choices from some of the players, the campaign had to be abandoned halfway through. It was a complete disaster. It was hilarious while it happened, but also heartbreaking because this beautiful narrative world was just destroyed by players making the worst possible choices and then just being Chaos Goblins. And I'm supposed to be the Chaos Goblin here, but no, it didn't work out. There was a TPK except for my character who miraculously survived. And as the next campaign started at the level we were when the previous campaign ended, I asked if I could just bring this character forward, which was fine. So technically I re-rolled the character and I rebuilt them and I made a few tweaks, but it's the same character. So that's why William Trottenberg exists. He used to be Wee Trot in the previous campaign, but he's gone incognito now because the Empire is after him. So he's William Trottenberg. So my shared document, I've called it Tales from the Crimson Comet because that's the name of our skyship. The 3 players involved in the campaign are all crew members of this ship. The first section I have is cast. So these are the people involved. I find it's really useful to have everyone's player name, character name, and just a description of their role written down, especially if I'm playing with people that I don't know personally that well. So I'm playing with a couple of other players who I've never met in real life. We are geographically spread across the world quite far. So having a note of their name, their character's name and their role, plus anything like if there's pronouns that I need to remember, I've got this written down now, so that really helps me remember. And then is 1 chapter per session. I'll make the notes during the session, just quick notes, keywords, and then I'll write it into a more narrative text later on. And right at the end, there's a space for character bios. Now, I've put a lot of work into my character bio, and I love doing this. Maybe other people aren't so keen on it, but if another player has written a bio for their character, I will ask, can I put this in the shared document? And if a character dies and they make a new one, then I'll put the new ones in as well. And this is just a fun thing to have, so we can read each other's backstories, we can better understand the characters and their motivations, and keep a record of all the wonderful characters we've played in this campaign. So last night, episode 7, I'm just going to read the notes verbatim, and then I'm going to go through the narrative process. So I'm actually going to be writing this up, and I'll be talking through what happened. But the notes that I wrote were: no loot on Steinkipper. Fine. Checked out rumours about caves. Used to access main corpse of fallen god. Entrance collapsed, believed unsafe. Weird talk of Jeremiah. Saw weird purple colour and water. Screamed, left group. Rumours of a horde of boars. Rumour told with a joking manner. Entered cave system. Found du bullet. Raru. Made a friend. Used the magic cup to refill a basin stone. Opened a secret door. Fought off bone crabs. Found a ring in the drain of the second basin. Cursed ring of invisibility. Will have to fix with remove curse and dispel magic. Got weird golden sap from cut vines. Shredded 3 gelatinous cubes. Found a second age cloak of displacement. Needs fixing. Calder can help. Things to do. Keep ring safe for later fixing. Mend cape. Search for crystals and ichor. Okay, so I'm actually going to start writing this up on the document, and I'm going to talk through what happened. So no loot on Steinkipper. At the end of the last session, we fought a creature called a Steinkipper. It's quite a potent beastie, but we defeated it, and we didn't get a chance to loot the body. We botched the nature roll or survival roll to take anything useful from it, and there was no other loot. So I'm going to say we took the time to investigate the body of the Steinkipper, but found nothing useful on its carcass. We moved back into the shelter of the caves. And asked the miners, this thing's a mine, about any rumours and stories from the caves themselves. They mentioned that the Empire was using them to extract resources from the body of a fallen god, but as the caves were deemed unsafe, the entrance was collapsed. Okay. Stories of a previous investigation of the cave mentioned a fellow called Jeremiah who saw a purple light and heard the sound of rushing water. Then screamed and fled the cave. We must be wary of strange purple lights. We were also advised not to drink the water. Not to drink the water. Okay. Okay, so with this information in mind, we collected some canvas sacks and flasks for any loot we may find, and entered the cave by the entrance that Calder found. Okay, so obviously the notes that I have don't have the full details of the adventure, but they're enough to trigger the memories, so I can remember the details of what else has happened. Occasionally, I'll forget something and I'll have to go back to Roll20 to see what was written down, or I'll go into Discord and I'll speak with the group and say, "Hey, do you remember what happened with this NPC, or what was this person called, or do you remember which god they were talking about when they mentioned the temple?" So my notes are obviously are never fully complete, but with my memory, the notes to help, and talking with the rest of the group, I can normally fill in the rest of the details. Okay, so we actually got into the cave. Whilst exploring the cave, we were alerted to something moving underground. The tremors of its digging, knocking Cecilia down. I bid the group be silent, thinking that this could be a bullet, and used Mage Hand to pat the ground in a rhythmic manner far enough away from us that we would be safe. The creature fell for my distraction and emerged. Calder, not understanding what the beast was, offered it some dried fish and tried to befriend it. And somehow we now have a happy bullet following us. Okay, that's actually what happened. So we noticed something burrowing through the earth, that little telltale ridge of disturbed earth as something moves towards us in a subterranean way. We had to make a dex save to avoid being knocked over by it, and two of us passed, one failed. Knowing what it was most likely, my character told everyone, like, don't move, be still, and then used Mage Hand to pat the ground 60 feet away, and telekinetic double range on Mage Hand, and it worked. The creature then veered off, erupted under where the Mage Hand was, and then through a comedy of errors, one of the players mistook my imp's token for the creature and saw, oh, this is a small furry looking thing, I'll try and befriend it, not realizing that there was a larger boulette just slightly further north on the map than it. But through incredibly lucky rolls on his behalf and like a terrible charisma save fail from the boulette, the DM was like, yeah, you offer this thing your fish jerky, it acts in a positive way, comes over, sniffs and eats it. The player tried to get it to sit, command it to sit, and it did. at which point we noticed it had a ribbon around its neck and some sort of plaque on it. No one could. It was in a language that no one could understand, but fortunately, I'd bought a helm of many languages. I put it on and I could read it. It was in Undercommon, and we learnt that it used to be a pet, and it was called Raro. And now we have a pet Boulette, and this thing is adorable, and it's following us around with some real Labrador energy. And if it dies, we're all going to be heartbroken. So we're going to try and preserve this thing for as long as possible. Okay, so but that was a great encounter. What could have been just a standard generic combat encounter turned into a cute party pet moment. And I like this. I like campaigns where you don't have to defeat every enemy you come across. I've been in situations where a dungeon master has said, you bypass that creature without killing it, so you don't get the XP for it. And that doesn't feel right to me. It encourages the party to be murder hobos and just kill everything to ensure they get the full XP out of it. Now, we are doing milestone XP in this campaign, which I think is great. Works really well for Dungeons and Dragons. And I like the fact that we can be rewarded for creatively solving a way past an obstacle, that not every creature you encounter is murder. So maybe that would be a nice thing to sort of more formalize in a game. So you can defeat a character, you can befriend a character or even recruit a character, you can distract them. So just have a list of ways that you could potentially get past a character, past an obstacle, an NPC, and have different outcomes based on what you pick. That's something to think about. But that was nice. So now we have a commandable Boulette following us around. Okay, so what's next? I've done that. Oh, I didn't mention the horde of boars. Let me go back. So we were also advised not to drink the water. The miners also jokingly mentioned a horde of boars in the mines, but this rumour should be treated with a pinch of salt. There we go. Okay. So what's the next thing? Use the magic cup. Okay. We passed into a section of ruins with a beautiful mosaic floor and intricate stone carvings reminiscent of an ancient cathedral. We found a supply drop from a previous expedition, and looted the goodies. After that, we found a locked stone door. The mechanism defeated my attempts to bypass it, but Calder was able to open the door. Beyond it was a small chamber with a stone plinth surrounded by dry vases, which reminded me of, hang on, I'm trying to think, if I put this here and angle it, so when I'm leaning to type, you probably get a better view. Fortunately, the flappy bit here of my phone is somewhat obstructing the view of the screen. We'll make do. Okay. Beyond a small chamber with a stone plinth surrounded by dry vases, Beyond was a small chamber with stone pillars, which reminded me of the setting for the cup of eternal water I recovered earlier. By placing the cup and activating its limitless flow of water, I triggered a secret mechanism which opened a door, a hidden door in the next chamber. The second door held a similar setup, but with a basin filled with stagnant water. Whilst checking for magic and curses, we were set upon by a horde of bone crabs. Calder sent Raru into the fray, whilst we picked off the crabs one by one, but their numbers nearly took our new friend down. We encouraged him to retreat, and finish the crabs off ourselves. But Cecilia was badly bitten and now has some affliction from these awful carrion eaters. So what happened was the bullet was sent forward whilst everyone stayed back and picked them off. So our character Cecilia is Eldritch Knight fighter, so mainly a melee character, but has some ranged. Calder is an artificer, so has a spear, also has a pistol, so a mixture, and I'm definitely a ranged guy. The problem was that the crabs just swarmed the bullet because it was the closest target and they had limited movement. They just went for whatever was closest, and very quickly they reduced him to single-digit hit points, at which point Calder told the bullet to take the disengage action and flee, and by then we'd taken enough crabs out that we could finish them off. This led to an in-character and out-of-character discussion on combat tactics later. Again, this highlights the flaws of action economy in Dungeons & Dragons, which I have talked about in so many other videos. But the way the game is designed to work, that you need to concentrate your fire. If you, unless there's a very good reason otherwise, if you have two attacks, you put them on the same target. Like if there are two targets that you know are both very weak, put one in each, that's fine. If you, like for me with Repelling Blast, if you can push targets away and there's a good chance they won't be able to get into combat next turn, great, hit two targets. Otherwise, concentrate your fire, because having 6 wounded crabs is a lot more dangerous to us than having 4 wounded crabs and 2 dead crabs. So we talked about splitting fire. We also talked about using terrain and area of effect spells. So in this case, all the crabs had to swarm to us through an area, and I have a nice big area of effect spell that I love using, but I'm not going to place it down if there's allies in the way. So because the bullet rushed forward, Okay, I'm not gonna shred my own pet or a party member's pet with spike growth, so I'm not going to do that. And it made the combat a lot harder. What was supposed to be a relatively easy encounter ended up doing a lot of damage to one of the players and nearly killing our new pet. So we had a little discussion in character about combat ideas, and then a little discussion out of character when we talked about mechanical issues of the game. And the DM and I both have this dislike for action economy. It's the nature of the game, and a lot of my other videos are about how to break action economy and how to change the way the game works, but that's not what we're doing right now. So we had this discussion. Okay. So carrion eaters. Once this distraction was dealt with, we moved back to the basin. Cecilia was able to unclog it, and the removal of the water revealed a bridge over the river that had previously blocked our path. The basin was clogged with a discarded magic ring, and it was clear it was discarded for a reason. As whilst it can grant invisibility, is also cursed with a crippling wasting factor for any that use it. Judicious use of remove curse and dispel magic may make the ring safe again. So someone had discarded a ring down this basin which had blocked it, and that had retracted the bridge that we wanted to use. The ring itself is cursed, so that whilst you can go invisible, yay, every turn you're using it, you lose a point of strength and a point of constitution until you hit 3 in either, and you then become unconscious and can't do anything. It takes a remove curse spell and a day of rest to gain each point back. But we learned that the ring can be fixed with a dispel magic and remove curse. It is possible to remove this negative curse, and then you've got a ring that grants invisibility. Yay. We'll keep that one for later. One thing I'll say, my DM, Rin, loves cursed magic items, or magic items with a twist or with a side effect. And we are now paranoid about curses on magic items. So I picked up a detect curse spell that she's made, and I won't use anything until I've checked it. And she can swear, no, you don't have to worry about this one, Tom. This one's not cursed. It's like, I'm going to check it anyway, because I'm a sneaky goblin, and of course I never believe anyone if anyone says something is safe. Okay. We crossed the bridge. Actually, we took a short rest first. Resting, we healed our wounds and prepared for the onward journey. These caves are unsafe, and we must... Hang on, I'm just going to shut them. Oh, yeah, no. Okay, there might be some noise in the background here because my kids have just come back from skating. Let's see what happens. The caves are unsafe, and we must be cautious where and when we rest. Hang on. Hey, darling. I'm doing some writing and recording at the moment. Yes, I'll deal with that as soon as I finish. It won't be long. The joys of life. Okay. Where was I? These caves are unsafe and we should be cautious where and when we rest. So we've been told that we can't really use the same location for a short rest twice, and we have to be very careful when we take a long rest because there are creatures patrolling these caves. That's great. We crossed the bridge and found more caverns and ruined buildings. Ruins with a strange purple light in the distance. Knowing the warnings we have been given, we must be cautious if we approach it. Behind some vines, we found a hidden chest with a love letter, dowry, and ring in it. The vines gave a psychic scream when cut and bled a golden sap. This may be useful, so we will keep some for later. I stored some sap in a vial for identification later on. Now the ring itself was magical, if I remember. It was a tarnished ring of telekinesis, so I had to take my party loot there. The ring was a tarnished ring of telekinesis, which now looks fine on Cecilia's finger. Okay, then we move on to the final combat encounter of the session. So, exploring further, we found a large chamber with some mottling on the floor. Looking up, we noticed 3 gelatinous cubes in ambush. By laying a spike growth out, we could knock them off the ceiling and deal with them easily as they shredded their way towards us. The 3 were beaten easily, and in one we found a damaged cloak of displacement. Calder may be able to repair it next time we take a break to rest. There we go. And that is the summation of my notes from the session. So I've made a little narrative here. It's just over a page of text, not a huge amount. It reminds me of what I need to do next session, reminds me of what we did. That fight against the gelatinous cube went particularly quickly and easily. They were hiding on the ceiling. I put spike growth down, so when they fell, they took some damage from the spike growth, and then they had to slowly crawl their way through it to get to us. They didn't have any form of ranged attack, and they took a huge amount of damage as they got towards us. And with repelling blast and telekinetic shove, none of them actually managed to get into melee with us. So by expending one resource, a level 2 spell slot, which I get back on a short rest, yay Warlock, we were able to defeat 3 gelatinous cubes without taking a single hit point of damage. So by clever use of tactics, area terrain, and terrain effects, this was an easy encounter. And it just goes to show that with a little bit of tactics, a little bit of preparation, and some sensible thought, we can work together and do a lot of damage. So, good example of a better combat from us. Obviously, this isn't going to work in every fight. We were quite fortunate that these are slow creatures with no ranged attack, and they had no way around the spike growth due to the geometry of the room we were in. But yeah, this is something that I do every time. I enjoy doing it, and guess what? I enjoy talking about it as well. So maybe I'll start recording all of these. So we're going to play again next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. And is this something that you do? Do you journal your campaign sessions? Would you like to start? I mean, you've seen what I do. It doesn't take much time. It's quite good fun. I highly recommend it. Either way, enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.